Hello, everyone. Welcome and thanks for joining us at the Scale Playbook. I know your inboxes are full and your calendars are packed, so we appreciate you spending some time with us today. I wanted to go over a few housekeeping items before we get into it. Drop where you're tuning in from in the chat. I'll go first. I am live from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Would love to see where everyone else is tuning in from. Speaking of the chat, use this chat to drop your questions for our speakers. We have dedicated Q&A at the end of each session. So drop your questions in as they come up during each presentation, and we will get to them at the end. We also have a Docs or Documents tab for additional resources you can explore. So check those out. For example, if you look at the docs for this session, we have an omnichannel guide and a few materials you can explore to learn more about how to expand to new channels with ShipBob. So check out that Docs tab over to the right. And finally, these sessions are all being recorded. They will land in your inbox tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. Getting into today's session, it's called the Scale Playbook, and it's organized around three things we hear most often from brand operators right now. Number one, how do I sell on more channels without creating a fulfillment nightmare? Two, how do I expand internationally without doubling my ops team? And three, how do I actually deliver a consistent branded customer experience when I'm growing to new channels and into new markets? So we're going to work through all three over the next few sessions. Like I said, if something resonates or you have questions, just jump into the chat. We will answer your questions at the end of each session. And finally, we'll be double clicking on omnichannel fulfillment and scaling CX in upcoming webinars later this quarter in June. So if you want to hear more, I'm going to drop the link to the rest of the sessions in the chat. So Scale with ShipBob. We have 2 more webinars coming up, so definitely save your seat if you want to learn more. All right, before we get started, a quick look at where we're going. We have 3 chapters today. Chapter 1, Sell Everywhere, how to scale across D2C, marketplace, retail without fragmenting your operations. Chapter 2, Expand Globally. This one's with our partners at Passport. We're going to talk about how to enter new markets without adding that headcount or additional complexity. And chapter 3, Delight Every Customer. We're going to talk about why your fulfillment strategy is your customer experience and how to really create seamless touch points as you expand across markets and channels with every customer that's interacting with your brand. So stick with us. There's a lot of useful content here, whether you're just starting to think about scaling to your next channel or your next market, or if you're already managing 5 channels across 3 countries. All of this information will be relevant and helpful to you. In case you missed our intro commercial, which should have played when you logged in, who is ShipBob? ShipBob helps brands fulfill their everything orders. But what does that mean exactly? It means you can sell on any channel, expand to any market, and deliver a great customer experience all from one platform. We have 60 plus fulfillment sites globally. We've shipped over 1 billion orders, which is a lot of orders. We have 99.9% order accuracy and a network built specifically for throughput, which means we're not just big, we're designed to also handle the spikes, the channel complexity, and the growth that happens when you're scaling a real brand with, lofty growth, big growth goals. So ShipBob's full stack fulfillment platform connects your storefronts, automates your operations, and we leverage AI to optimize every decision from not every decision, but from where to place inventory, for example, which carriers deliver the fastest at the lowest costs. And thousands of e-commerce brands trust us to run their supply chain, like some of the ones on your screen right now, Our Place, Easy Bombs, and Bloom Nutrition. When we say one platform, here is what that actually means for you. Sell Everywhere. We support over 250 channels, whether you're scaling D2C, marketplace, retail. ShipBob handles the channel-specific operations, so you don't have to build a separate workflow or separate partners for each. Expand Globally. We have turnkey cross-border shipping. We have fulfillment centers in the US, Canada, the UK, Europe, Australia, one platform for every market. And Delight Every Customer. So what does that mean? We have custom packaging, inserts, branded tracking, all built into the network, and all of that scales with you. So one of the things we hear most from brands is that Their 3PL can sometimes become the ceiling. You get to a certain volume, you add a new channel, and suddenly you're managing workarounds instead of managing growth. ShipBob is built to be the infrastructure that you never outgrow. It grows with you. And I want to share some data to anchor all of this before we get into it. This should feel very familiar to you if you're running a brand right now. So at ShipBob, every year we publish the State of E-commerce Fulfillment Report, where we survey our brands. This year, I think it was about 400 plus brands, everyone from small startups to companies doing 100 million or more a year. And here are 4 numbers that I want to call out. 98% of our brands are adding customization to their orders, branded packaging, inserts, gift notes. 85% are targeting 2 to 3 day domestic delivery. So that's US domestic delivery. That's the customer expectation that's been set by Amazon. And it's really the baseline, and it doesn't go away just because you're not Amazon. Every brand these days needs to be able to fulfill quickly, on time, and affordably. 86% of our brands are already selling on 2 or more channels, and 67% are shipping internationally. So what this tells us is that omnichannel isn't aspirational anymore. Global isn't aspirational. It's operational. The question isn't whether you should sell on multiple channels or sell globally. It's that you have to. It's the baseline. So the question really that we're trying to answer today is, are your operations keeping up with where your business is going? And that leads me into our first poll. If you want to navigate over to the polls tab, we have a question. Where are you at in your scaling journey? Are you scaling D2C? Are you expanding into new channels? Are you going global? Is it all of the above, or are you just getting started? So I'm seeing 1 vote for expanding into new channels, scaling D2C. We're going to leave this poll open throughout the session and come back to it at the end when more of the results are in. So go over to that tab 3 in the polls, and just let us know where you're at so that we can shape some of this content into something that's hyper relevant for you. We want you all to get something out of this session today. All right. And with that, I'm excited to introduce our first session, Sell Everywhere, and invite Brian Combest onto the stage. Brian works on our expansion team to help our merchants find their next channel or market to expand into. Today, he's going to share some tips on expanding to new channels without adding complexity or headcount. Welcome to the stage, Brian.
Awesome. Thank you, Lindsay. Good morning, afternoon, and evening to everybody. I saw we have people from all over the globe. So one of the things I love about this industry is being able to work with everybody just kind of everywhere. Real quick introduction. My name is Brian Combest. I've been with ShipBob a little over 4 years. My specific role is working with our current merchants who are using us in ShipBob and expanding them into additional channels, trying to find ways to help them diversify their orders and their shopping experience for their customers. And so that's kind of what we'll be talking through today. So the first thing, right now, like everybody's moving into a more of a direct consumer and a multi-omni-channel kind of presence. From the State of E-commerce Fulfillment Survey, we found about 86% of brands already sell on 2 or more channels. 75% of the brands will be adding at least 1 new sales channel this year, and 53% of those brands are now selling through B2B, whether it be retail shops or like a brick and mortar kind of mom and pop kind of scenario. The title of this slide is kind of the single channels, the new risk. So, if you're only selling on your Shopify store, you're missing a lot of customers who could be looking for you. So you're missing customers who could be on Amazon, TikTok, FBM, or FBT, Target. And if you're only on Amazon, we meet a lot of people who are doing FBA, like very FBA focused. You might be missing a customer who wants that branded experience, on your own website or on your social media platforms. So we have customers everywhere, and the goal here is to find those and to bring those customers in and bring those into your brand. The hardest part isn't always making the decision to expand to the new channel. The hardest part is kind of the questions you have around what does that look like operationally and kind of what does that look like. So it's a little bit of what we're going to talk through today. All right, so this slide is really more about kind of when people are looking at expanding into new channels. A lot of times there's a little bit of hesitancy and fear around kind of like what happens, right? So there's always the question of inventory fragmentation. Like, do I need inventory for this channel and this channel and this channel? Do I have multiple 3PLs that I'm working with? That's one concern. The other concern is compliance headaches. So we all know that getting into retail EDI, every retailer has a lot of different requirements. And if you don't hit those requirements, it hurts your relationship with that retailer. And also you incur chargebacks, which gets expensive for you. And then the other piece is like platform specific SLAs. For anybody that's been on TikTok Shop, know they have very strict SLAs on when those orders go out, or Amazon has strict SLAs on when those go out, or getting inventory in. And so those are kind of the general headaches that and questions that people have as they're expanding into these new channels. And the question there is, is your op team going to need to spend more time on this, which is also going to cost you more money? And if you're a lean team, we understand that that can be a bit of a concern as well. So, we hear this from our merchants every day, and our job is to really work through that with them and show them how easy it can be to get into these new channels and how that can be automated as well. So as far as selling everywhere, right? How do we solve this? It's one platform for every channel. That's our goal. So in our dashboard, we're really looking to be able to make this as seamless as possible, build all the integrations into one single platform, and also have everything built. So make sure we're hitting your SLAs. Unified inventory and data management for all of your channels, for whether it's direct to consumer, your marketplaces, wholesale, or EDI. Really talking through those and making sure we're not splitting stock and managing multiple partners, and not reconciling like two different systems at the end of the month. On the B2B side, we support over 200 plus retailers via EDI. So we have Target, Walmart, Nordstrom, Ulta, and a lot more. Those are kind of the big ones. But the B2B order volume on our platform grew about 55% year over year in 2025. The natural progression in direct consumer, if you're starting direct consumer in your Shopify store and you're growing and that platform has grown, the natural progression that we're seeing is that customers get invited into retail stores or they start exploring these retail experiences. So being able to support all of those is extremely important for your operations. I think we have a series on that coming up too, specifically on EDI and SPS commerce and those kinds of things. We do offer retail ready support with retail display assembly, kitting, retail value added like prep services, just to make sure those orders are ready for Target and Walmart and any other place you really want to see your brand on the shelves. And then the other piece is just our network density and our carrier mix. We strive to make that as strong as possible so we can meet the delivery promises for each channel. And whether that's 2-day B2B, same day on certain marketplaces, or standard just D2C ground. So really fitting whatever your need is on whatever platform and channel that you're on. So what I want to kind of emphasize right here is like ShipBob it's not an all or nothing solution, right? You don't have to be doing 5 channels and shipping to 12 countries for this to make sense to you. We support brands at any point in their omni-channel journey. So think about it kind of in 3 stages, right? So starting out, you're on your own Shopify site. That's kind of the most common thing we see is you're on your own site and maybe some Amazon FBA. And you need fast D2C shipping and FBA prep or FBM without managing that fulfillment setup. We can handle both of those from the same inventory. Same thing, if you decide that TikTok Shop is a major platform that a lot of people are trying to utilize and capitalize on right now, you don't want to have separate stockpiles of inventory for those. So being able to utilize the same inventory for that as all of your direct consumer inventory and consolidating all of that is extremely important. And then if you're expanding, you're killing it on the D2C side and in the marketplace side. A retailer says yes, now you need EDI compliance. So if you haven't explored the retail side, there's a lot of every retailer is different on what their requirements are. You might need a blue sticker here, or like a different type of palette there, and you have to make sure that you hit those compliances. And also they're like case pack fulfillment and ability to hit strict delivery windows. EDI is kind of the way that you can automate that, and that's kind of how we go about doing that. We definitely have people using a manual B2B flow, but a lot of the merchants I've worked with who are using that manual B2B flow and expand into EDI, really helps them streamline and automate and make the B2B experience a lot simpler for them. And then the other piece, if you're scaling, if you're on 5 channels across multiple countries, your customers span D2C, marketplace, retail, wholesale, you're using all those, you need a partner that can handle all of that together on a singular platform and have that consolidated. And that's something we're able to provide for our customers. So wherever you are in that journey, the move to that next stage doesn't have to mean more complexity. It just means more capability on the same platform. And you want to really be able to streamline that. Cool. So now let's kind of dive into the channels a little bit. This is kind of the common one where a lot of the brands start with. This is our direct to consumer fulfillment. This is kind of your typical Shopify. And so, this is where we all start. It's our own site. It's our highest margin channel. 85% of brands are now targeting 2 to 3 day domestic delivery. That number is not necessarily like aspirational anymore. Amazon has kind of set that bar for everybody. So it's extremely important to try and to be competitive against, Amazon Prime brands to be able to hit that window. And so for us, in ShipBob, we can operate out of 5 different regions in the United States to really drive your zones down. If you're in one zone, you're located in Texas or California, it's going to take a long time to get to that customer. If you can strategically split that inventory out, then whether it be in 2 locations or 3 locations, you can really drive that transit time down for those customers and also give a better, more cost-effective shipping for those as well. And then we also have a program called Inventory Placement Program, and this has been extremely important for a lot of our brands. So it's an algorithm on our dashboard which analyzes your historical order history, and it looks at all of your orders and says, okay, you have, these 5 SKUs are your fastest moving SKUs. These 5 SKUs make up 90% of your order volume, right? You want those 5 SKUs spread out as much as possible to get those to your customers fast and cost effective. But then it might say that, hey, these other 10 SKUs, that's only represents 10% of your order volume. So you might put those in one central location. So that way we're being really smart about the inventory that we're placing. And then our dashboard will also recommend, based on your historical order data, you need 30% here, 40% here, and the other 30% here. So the direct consumer, that's the channel, and really making sure you're optimizing the shipping for that channel is extremely important. All right, the next one, and this is a hot topic. This is the one I'm having a lot of conversations about right now, are marketplaces. So, the most common marketplaces that we know are like your Amazon, which you have FBA where Amazon's doing the fulfillment, or FBM where you self-fulfill or your 3PL is doing the fulfillment, and from the same inventory pool. Walmart Marketplace is one. TikTok Shop is the big hot one, from like 2025, and still seeing people super successful on it. It's really a strategy that we're seeing where people try to reach customers who may not see them on Shopify, may not see them on Amazon. It's really trying to reach as many customers as you possibly can. And, and what we're able to do is share that inventory across all of those channels. And, this is one of those channels that I'm seeing a lot of really strategic ways of using this. So for example, I have one brand that I'm working with right now, and a new marketplace that's really up and coming is called Whatnot. So TikTok, you have your TikTok shop, right? Like you can see it on your videos, but then you can also live stream and have people purchase on TikTok shop. Whatnot is kind of like a live streaming type app where you have a show every day and people are ordering. Well, one of our brands is using that to get rid of their deadwood stock. So, every day they'll put a show on for 4 or 5 hours. Somebody will just kind of be live streaming, and any of the deadwood stock that they're looking to try and get rid of, they will be working on selling those. And they've been super, super successful with that, with over 10,000 orders a month in that platform. And it's really helped them manage their stock and help their inventory levels a ton. Another brand that we have that's been super successful that I've worked really closely with in the past is I Love Chamoy. They did really, really well on TikTok or on Shopify, but they just blew up on TikTok. And it was just a channel where they were able to meet customers that were not finding their Shopify store, and really scale their brand and help them become super successful. So the marketplace is a big one. And then another big one I'm talking through right now with a lot of people, I think I saw a person on here I'm working on this with, but is Ulta Marketplace. So lots of those coming up. Those each all have their own requirements as well. So it's with their SLAs and their shipping options. So being able to hit those SLAs for those marketplaces and also hit their compliance requirements with the carriers is extremely important. That's something that we can work through with y'all and automate that as well. All right, and then the kind of the last channel we'll kind of talk through is retail. I kind of touched on it earlier. The natural progression we've seen is starting in the direct consumer realm, and then they just really scale, see a lot of success, and these stores are seeing a lot of demand for those products, and they love to get them in those stores. So getting into retail can be scary for a lot of people. It feels like a big task at first, and what our job is to try and make that as seamless as possible for everybody, and as automated as possible. So what a lot of people will do is they'll go in, they'll get their PO from the retailer, they'll kind of upload that manually, and it's a lot of hands-on and a lot of man hours. And so one brand I've worked with, they were doing that with I forget the retailer. I think it may have been like an Ipsy or something like that. And they were uploading the POs, doing everything manually, submitting the freight, and it was just a very manual process, very kind of broken. And so we launched them on EDI using SPS Commerce. And what that allows is it allows those POs to flow seamlessly through SPS to ShipBob. Our team on the ground gets that, and we also have at our packing stations. We have like our screens, and it pulls up all the compliance requirements and shows us exactly where the labels should go to make sure that we aren't getting that you guys are not incurring any chargebacks, that we are providing the right experience for you, your customer, and that retailer, and maintaining that relationship with the retailer as well. This is a really big piece, and this has also been a very big focus for a lot of our brands, especially the ones that have scaled. I will also say a lot of brands, if you're curious about dipping your toes into retail, but you're not quite sure, or you need to establish a relationship, we've seen a couple brands have success getting into the marketplace for those retailers. So getting into Walmart Marketplace, getting into Target Marketplace, pouring resources into that to gain traction and sales in those marketplaces. And then they've actually been invited into those stores because of their success on those marketplaces. It's been really cool to see. And it's been a really exciting time for ShipBob and their customers being able to get into these retailers. So, the omnichannel advantage. So the thing that the ShipBob is able to offer and that we really love to be able to do is having unified inventory for your direct consumer, your marketplace, your retail, and your wholesale orders, right? Like we want to keep this as simple as possible for you on your dashboard. If you're selling from Shopify, TikTok Shop, Target Marketplace, Walmart Marketplace, we want them to be able to use the inventory from a single pool of inventory in your dashboard, and from your single dashboard, and not have to have a retail dashboard, a D2C dashboard, have that be as seamless of an experience as possible. That is our ultimate goal. Also an automated inventory placement, right? So for all those channels, making sure we're allocating inventory to the right locations to make sure we're not running out of stock in one location. So being really strategic about that placement. And also kind of your cross-border, which I know that my colleague will get into a little bit later right here. But that's been one of the biggest benefits for a lot of our brands, is being able to have a single dashboard to operate their direct consumer, their marketplace, and their retail orders out of, and to do it in a streamlined and seamless way. Cool. And this is just a quick case study of one of our merchants, Nude. That was really big and did really well on the direct consumer side, and then started in Target with 300 stores and expanded to 1,500 really quickly. So in enabling EDI and doing the automation, they were able to save hundreds of hours a week implementing that EDI solution. And so we're fulfilling 29 different Target DCs weekly for this merchant and several other merchants as well. And also while doing that, utilizing our FBA Prep, which is another B2B solution we have to automate those complex kind of Amazon shipments as well. Very cool. So that's it for kind of my spiel. I absolutely love working with the brands that we have and expanding. So just kind of want to open it up to questions, or Lindsay, if you wanted to chime in.
Yeah. Thanks, Brian. Drop your questions in the chat if you have anything about expanding to new channels, new markets, growing D2C. We have a few seed questions that we can get into. And I did want to say on the third retail slide, that was supposed to be a GIF, and I'm really sad that it didn't work. But there is a cool TikTok that the new team made when they launched in Target that you can Google and maybe pull up on TikTok. But I digress. The other thing I wanted to chat about too is Whatnot. I feel like that's been a really big like lever for our brands, and something that I've seen personally coming up a lot. We actually were at a conference a few weeks ago, and we met a brand that their whole business model is, like you said, brands are selling their dead stock on Whatnot. This company buys other brands' dead stock and sells it on Whatnot. So I feel like the use cases for it are so huge. I follow a lot of vintage resellers or secondhand clothing sellers that also sell on Whatnot. So a lot you can do with it. We do have a question in the chat really quick. Jose's asking, does this also support WordPress WooCommerce? I know we support WooCommerce, but Brian, I'm not sure if you know about WordPress.
Yeah. So Jose, are you talking about WooCommerce like in general, like does ShipBob integrate with WooCommerce, or are you talking specifically with like the marketplace or whatnot that Lindsay was referring to?
Yeah, let us know in the chat, Jose, and we will circle back to that question. So I think we have time for a few quick seed questions that we have. So let's see. What would you tell a brand operator, Brian, if they've been burned before by trying to enter new channels and are maybe hesitant to explore channel expansion again? What would be your advice to brands that are going through that?
Yeah, I think the big thing would be just kind of understanding where that pain came from. Odds are it was missing an SLA, missing compliance. So I would really want to dive in and understand like how was the setup. So in our marketplaces, like what we do is we need to understand what the SLAs are, what the compliance requirements are, and we can set that channel up. So for example, with TikTok, you can set up a tag when those orders import, and when that order comes into ShipBob, our team understands that's a TikTok order. It can prioritize the SLA on that, and we will understand those compliances. Also, every marketplace has different carrier restrictions, and so what we've been able to do is create different ship options that have specific carriers in those ship options. And so when that order imports as a TikTok order, we're able to make sure we assign the proper ship option that only allows the carriers that are allowed by that marketplace. So I think that's the biggest thing. And just understanding that once that's set up, it just flows automatically. Like you don't have to worry about those compliances. We haven't had any like Whatnot. We haven't had any compliance issues at all. We've had 0 chargebacks, and same thing with TikTok recently.
And are there any, I mean, we have, Jose followed up, do we support any integrations? We have 250 plus retail partner integrations, right? From Target, Walmart. Are there any others that you'd want to call out that might resonate?
Temu, Shein, those are some big ones. I know Macy's has a marketplace, Whatnot, and TikTok. Those are kind of the biggest ones right now. So
awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time, Brian. This has been awesome. If you guys have any questions for our team, please continue to drop them in the chat. You could book a demo with a fulfillment expert. For any of our customers on the call, reach out to Brian if you're interested in expanding to new channels or markets. His team can help out with that. And yeah, we're excited to launch Chapter 2. We'll be joined by our partners at Passport. And my question to everyone now before we get into it is, if you're looking to expand into new markets, let us know which ones.